G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. Joe, welcome. How are you, sir?
Very well. I'm very good, Matt. And yourself, how are you travelling?
I am absolutely fantastic. Wonderful to have everybody that's here so far. We've already got, how many have we got there? I can't see. The Ecamm software is not telling me for some reason today. Yes, and of course, as Craig says, please use the like button as a door knocker. That's fantastic. I love that idea. Now, Joe, what's been exciting? I love to talk about what's been exciting for everyone in their week, and let us know in the chat as well. What's been exciting for you in your week? Has there been a great photograph that you took, a great experience that you had, an event you saw, a movie? Maybe you got a new bit of gear. Joe, what's going on for you this week?
Well, as you know, I had my 50th birthday celebration, which was great, and had plenty of really, really good friends come along to that. So that was fantastic, and that was great.
Very good. And I would like to say that I happened to be there, and it was an amazing. We were at the Royal Botanical Gardens, which is just probably one of the most beautiful places in Melbourne. We happened to have the most perfect Sunday afternoon where the sun was streaming into this venue. And I have to say, the food was just off the charts awesome. So, Joe, thank you very much for that. Great to see we've got O. Arnold, Jay Blue, Carl, and Craig in the chat. And I'm sure lots more have joined us. We've got 24 here today. Oh, we've got Mookie MC. G'day, Mookie MC. Yes, Mookie says, my Z6III has been very happy the last few days. We will get into the absolutely epic, kind of still unfolding story of the Z6III update, which really just doesn't stop giving. I want to talk a little bit about what I've been working on, Joe, this week, and it's hiding behind me here. Watch this amazing reveal, Joe. Here we go. Everybody, that's what I'm
Okay.
working on this week. Let me move that out. Can you see it? There it is there. Yes, that is 4 cameras. I'm going to try and do, it might kill me, but I'm going to try and do a 4 camera comparison. It's going to be absolutely epic for sure. Along with, I've got a review coming for this lens here, which is the 40mm f2 from TT Artisan. That's a lovely little lens, and they happen to send me one for Z mount and for E mount. So I'm going to do a side by side with those that I'm very excited about. And also coming soon, if I don't drop it off my desk here, this also arrived this week, which is the 18 to 300 3.5 6.3 from Tamron. That's quite a lens. Tamron just keeps giving us stuff, and that's come out for, I think it's out for almost every mount, including RF mount as well. So that's fantastic. It's already out for E mount. But we've had some big news. Hey, there's Jason. Oh, I'm here for it, baby. 4 cams. Let's go. Yeah. Yes. I know. It might take me, Jason, 3 years. It took me like 6 weeks to get that other one together. And when are we getting you on the live stream? We've got to get you on the live stream, sir. I want you to talk to me about the new Sony firmware that came out this week as well, which had lots of stuff. Seth is in the house. Great to have you here, Mr. Miranda. But yeah, Jason, let's talk about that new firmware maybe in a week or something. Now, first bit of news off the rank, Joe, is Hasselblad. We're just going to talk about the news and then we'll get to the big 2.00. Let's talk about Hasselblad for a second. They have released their new camera, which is the X2D, which I've thrown up on the screen now. The X2D. What a name. The X2D II 100C. How many times am I going to say that? Now, Joe, tell us, what have you learned about how this is different from the previous model?
Well, they've changed. They've changed quite a few things, Matt. I think
Yep.
they've made the camera a bit snappier because they're going after moving subjects these days. So they've gone to as well as having face only detection, they're also doing cat and dog detection and vehicle detection. I don't know whether or not they've done bird detection yet. So they've also included a couple of other focus modes as well. It's got some. I think one of So aside from the detection modes, I think one of the big step ups for this range or this series of cameras is going from 7 stops of dynamic range up to 10 stops of dynamic range. That's quite a substantial step.
Do you mean? Sorry. Do you mean in-body image stabilization, Joe, not dynamic range?
I do.
Because they already have 7 stops and they already have 10 stops of dynamic range.
They have 16 stops. They've added it all together.
Yeah. I found the page which says 15.3 stops of dynamic range, and they've got the ISO of 50, so they've managed to lower the ISO, and they're tilting the screen in all sorts of directions. Look, this is an amazing camera. How do you feel about small, medium format? I mean, I'd love to play with it, I think.
Yeah, it'd be great to play with. Absolutely. I mean, look, I think it's you've probably got more experience than most people in the chat, given that you've got a Hasselblad and you've played around with proper medium format, I guess. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are shooting Hasselblad medium format versus, let's say, shooting a Z9 or a Z8 full frame.
Yeah, so my Hasselblad, which cost an arm and a leg about, when was that? About a decade ago, which was the largest sensor, the true medium format sensor. And the reason I got that was because at the time it was 60 megapixels, and that was pretty hard to achieve, pretty much in that, and 16-bit. You know, it shoots a whopping 1 frame per second, which doesn't bother me. I love that, and the autofocus it just works, yeah. But for me, it was all about picture quality, and the picture quality was absolutely outstanding. But I love what GFX are doing. I love, what Fuji are doing with the GFX. I love what's going on with what Hasselblad are doing here, and obviously DJI are a big part of Hasselblad. Joe, your camera just dropped out. I think you're sending too much signal through your connection to the internet.
I was very excited.
Yeah, so look, I really love the idea, and obviously what's going on these days, though, is with the 45, 50, 60 megapixel, 35 millimeter sensors and the optics that we have today, you know, the manufacturers of these cameras, the GFX and the Hasselblad, they've got to bring more to the table, and things like 10 stops of dynamic range. Sorry, now you've made me say it. Things like 10 stops of in-body image stabilization, 16-bit. These are bringing us, things that some people want, but a lot of people don't want. And of course, this is a niche product, so that's the way it is. And of course, there's not the same range of lenses, there's not the same speed, but that's not what it's designed for. And look, I'm really excited about it. And of course, what came with it as well was the new 35 to 100, which is something like a 24 to 70-ish sort of lens. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's not a fixed aperture, as we can see here. It's a 2.8 to f4. But I think that's pretty exciting for small, medium format. And having a leaf shutter that's 1/4000th of a second is pretty amazing. Sorry, I forgot that I wasn't sharing the screen. There it is there. That is the beautiful new zoom. And it doesn't look that much bigger. And I think that's what they're trying to achieve here. It doesn't look that much bigger than a 24 to 70 f2.8. So I think that's why it's got the variable aperture, is to keep the size down. But I think this is an exciting release. And, the only reason that I don't have one is because they're expensive. It's a lot of money. I think in this country, if I was to get these two things that you see in this image right here, right now, that'd be $20,000, and that's just crazy. So, very excited for those. And a friend of mine lent me the original one of these, and I've got a video up on my channel about 7 years ago. It's a beautiful camera. The ergonomics are absolutely stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, I mean, it would be the sort of camera I'd love to do. The really slow street stuff, and of course, I love shooting low light, and so that 10 stops of in-body image stabilization would just be absolutely magic for me. So there we go. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. Let's get to the big the big kahuna, Joe. The big kahuna this week is and it's probably why everybody's here. It's Z6III firmware 2.0. When I first heard about it, it was like, oh, there's not really very much in it, was what I was told. And, that's not the case. This is a huge update that's basically bringing, I think, almost everything that Nikon has put into every other camera so far, whether it's the Z8, the Z9, the Z5 II, the Z50, the ZF, all these XP7 cameras, and lo and behold, it's now just all been jammed into the Z6III. Now, Seth's saying a couple of things about the Hasselblad before we jump away from that. Let's have a look at what Seth is saying. Let me move that comment. Seth is saying, I just wish Hasselblad didn't make you use their software. Yeah, look, I agree. Using their software is, they're always not as good as whether it's Capture One or what Adobe does, that's for sure. And Seth also says, would be great if they could just work with Capture One. Totally agree with that. I can't even remember the name of that software. It's been so long since I used my Hasselblad. Yes, but back to the Z6III.
Wait, before you go on, they've actually got software that works with iOS as well. So that's something new, not just
Hasselblad do.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, back now. Now, everybody, if you see us delaying a little bit, it's because there's a 2.5 second delay between Joe and I. And this week we're going to try and not talk over each other. So there'll be these little 2-second pregnant pauses between when each of us finish. It's a weird thing. Well, I'm using Ecamm software, and my guess is that their servers are in the Northern Hemisphere. So literally, our signals have got to go to the Northern Hemisphere and back. Yes, focus. That's right. Yes, thanks for reminding me, Seth. Appreciate that. Yes, so let's get back to the Z6III. And Reggie has said Z6III is now a baby Z8. That's a great place to start, isn't it, Joe? What did we do yesterday that made us feel that way?
We went out duck shooting, except with cameras. So it was. So we took out the couple of Z9s and the Z6III with the new firmware, and we had some longer lenses on the 70 to 200, the 70 to 180, as well as the 100 to 400. And with the same subjects in front of us, we were basically changing from one camera to the next very quickly, just to get a sense of how snappy the Z6III is versus the Z9. So if a lot of you already have experience with a Z9 or a Z8, Matt and I can attest that the Z6III is at least as fast as both of those cameras with bird detect. And I would say that in our limited testing, and we do need to do more testing and probably a separate video for this. We're
gonna do side-by-side testing. That's what we're going to try and do. We're going to get this rig here, and we're going to get the Z8, and because it's the same size, or the Z9, but the Z8 and the Z6III literally next to each other, and we will try and make that happen, won't we, Joe?
Yep, absolutely. I think my feeling is that the Z6III actually felt a little bit faster in subject acquisition for the birds, but then again, that might have been just the feel of the EVF. I don't have a Z6III, so I'm used to shooting with a Z9 or a Z6 or some other, or even the ZF. So I was a bit bedazzled to begin with by the EVF, but certainly it's a very, very fast, very fast camera for birding. So I think if you can withstand the 24 megapixels, which in my opinion is absolutely ample for birding, and you want to get into birding, and you only want to spend in Australia, let's say 3,300 or 3,500. The camera's always on sale because it's a year old, versus 9,000 Australian dollars for a Z9, or some pretty high prices for Z8s as well, then it's a sensational camera for doing birding. It's small, compact, light, fast. The quality of the images are beautiful. So, what were your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, well, first, a little bit of housekeeping. Firstly, Seth, how are my levels now? I'm just having a look whilst I talk live. Now maybe they're similar to Joe's. Joe, how far are you from your mic? Because you're a bit lower, I'm a bit hotter. Have a think about that while I'm talking. I just want to quickly address T777's comment. Unfortunately, Nikon has not fixed the flickering. Don't do that, Joe. I can't concentrate if you do that. Unfortunately, Nikon has not fixed the flickering shadow issue in N-Log on the Z6III. Any chance they actually resolve this? Pretty big deal since video was one of the camera's selling points. So have you tested that on the Z6III firmware 2.00 T77? Because they allegedly fixed it with firmware update. I think it was 1.1 or 1. I think it was 1.1 or 1.01, something like that. I shoot basically all my video on the Z6III, and I would have to say that I'm not sure in real world usage that I ever really saw it, and whether I've seen it even when I'm pushing things. So I'd love your feedback on that. Back to what you're saying, Joe. Yeah, look, so let's kick off by saying one of the headline features of the Z6III 2.00 is bird detect. Now, obviously, when the Z5 II came out with it, what is it, 2 or 3 months ago, something like that, everyone threw their arms in the air and did this, because it's like, oh, my camera doesn't have it. And it's like, yeah, man, it's all right. Did it have it when you bought it? Well, I did. Yeah, anyway, I won't go into all of that. So Nikon very promptly and unusually telegraphed the fact that, yes, we will get bird detect in the Z6III by the end of the year. Well, look at your calendars, people. It is not the end of the year. It is August. It is months from the end of the year. And you have bird detect. So that is a major, major advancement for 2.0. And, you know, Joe and I went out and tested it yesterday. And even when I was very first testing it, I don't know, a week or so ago, I straight away was like, damn, this is snappy. Its ability to just sort of jump between, like you move the camera around and it's trying to prioritize. If you're doing full frame subject detection, and it is very quickly just bang, 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 jumping around the scene, finding birds. So super fast. And I'm like, geez, you know, is this the fastest I've seen? Now, I had a conversation with another big birding channel. You all might know Jan Wagner. Thank you, Jan. Greetings to you if you happen to be watching. And if you're not, thank you for... He has shared some of his images taken with the new firmware, which we will look at shortly. Very kind of him, and we definitely thank him for that. But we had a phone chat earlier this week, and the first thing he said to me is, you know, it was a bit more like a Z5 II, the original firmware. Now it's like a Z8 or a Z9, and basically it's the same. And he said, you know, it seems to be even faster than an R5 II. So he would know because he's used every camera under the sun. And so, and this is just one aspect of this firmware. This is just one aspect, is the immense improvements in bird detect. So essentially, if you want a Z8 or a Z9 experience, and the only main differential if you're a birder is megapixels, and let's not forget that we're talking 6,000 versus about 8,500 pixels. So it's not like it's twice the difference actually in your horizontal resolution. It's not. It's only you know, what is that? It's only a third more. If you go up to the Z8 or a Z9. So this is a really wonderful, viable option. And Joe and I yesterday were talking about the fact that, you know, you can solve this problem of resolution because people want to crop. You can. One way to solve it is, you know, you could buy a Z8, and in this country they're $6,000 or $7,000, and the Z6III is like three and a bit. You could buy yourself a 180 to 600 instead of 100 to 400, and then you've got the actual difference. You've got more than the difference in resolution in actually zoom power. So, you know, it's a really powerful way to have to start in that space. And look, it's probably a great opportunity to go over to Jan's images. So let me pull them up for everybody, because he's just sent us a couple, but they're really beautiful. And this is a gentleman that uses. If you don't know his channel, he's got like over 100,000 subscribers. Very popular channel. He gets to shoot with all brands of cameras, and this is the Z6III at work now. So he's only had a couple of days to capture these images. Very, very kind of him. I did ask him to join us, but he wasn't free this morning, so he's going to join me. He's going to join us in the next week or two. But he sent us these images, and this is Z6III at work, and you can see just, I don't know how well it'll come through, but you can see the detail on the eye here. Absolutely amazing. I don't know the names of the birds. Maybe Joe does. He's more of a birder than I am. But these are just fabulous images. This one's been cropped a little bit harder, but just what a great result. This is probably my favorite of the ones that he's sent. And that's just a gorgeous image, and I'm sure from a birder's perspective, you'd be very happy with that. So here's just one feature of Z6III version 2.0, birding working super well. I mean, look, bird in flight, from my perspective, the focus seems to be sharp there on the eye. I don't have metadata that tells me the lens and so on. So great work, and we thank Jan very, very much. But, you know, so is there anything else you'd like to talk about the birding side, Joe, of firmware 2.0?
Look, I wouldn't mind. It's something to keep in mind that the bird in flight for birders is probably only a very small percentage of what birders are doing when they're going out shooting. So if a bird starts to fly, you've kind of got to make use of whatever's left of the opportunity. You really want to be shooting birds when they're in their natural habitat, in nice poses and all that type of stuff. That's generally what happens with birding. So even if you don't have a Z6III, and I think the Z6III is an extraordinary camera, and I am very tempted. If you're not worried about bird in flight, then you'll find that even a Z6II or a Z6 or any other camera really that's got a decent sensor, you're still going to be able to get great photos. I was showing Matt some photos earlier and some printouts of photos from 24 megapixels and even I think I've got a photo at you're going to have to trust me with this one. This was shot with a Nikon 1V1, and I know you can't see what it looks like with resolution on the screen, but this particular shot, and I'll try and get it so there's no reflection, this particular shot is what I think it's 10 megapixels at A2, and the quality is beautiful. So I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of this still comes down to correct lighting, making sure that your composition is quite good. But the Z6III, no doubt, with what we saw yesterday, has taken out probably one of the most difficult parts of the equation, and that is sharp focus. Because if you don't get sharp focus on the eye, and let's say you're focused on the plumage instead, the photos just don't pop as you'd like them to. So they're my thoughts. Beautiful camera.
Yeah. So basically, basically a 24 megapixel sensor is more than enough. We can see, Joe's proved it to us. Jan Wagner's proved it to us. So this is a great alternative, and especially if you're sort of wanting to get into that space. Obviously, it's full frame, so you get the advantages of full frame, which some would say it's a disadvantage, and that's fine. It's an advantage for maybe other types of photography and other use cases. It's, I suppose, an all-round sensor. And of course, if you're shooting 4K video, you still get that 1.5 crop on your 4K. In that space. So the comments have been going crazy, and I've been trying to keep up with them. I've been throwing a few up, but Edward Phillips says, great chat, by the way. Thank you so much, Edward, and thank you so much, everyone that's here.
Thanks.
Now, there was a question, and of course, if you have any questions about firmware 2.00, please throw them in the chat with a QQQ. It just makes it easier to find. This is not about that. This is, what are your guys' opinion about the Sigma 200 f2 lens and the soon to come Laowa 200. Yeah, well, I mean, there's the previous current F mount 200 F2 is a highly coveted lens. People absolutely love it, and what I've heard about the Sigma one, as I haven't used it, is it seems to be up there. It's beautifully made. It looks beautiful. It's small and relatively light for what it does. And I know Bobby really appreciated and enjoyed using that lens. Maybe we'll get a chance to hear him talk about it at some point in the future. I'm not sure. And as for the Laowa, well, I'm planning to reach out to Laowa and hopefully get a copy of that lens, but we'll see what happens on that front. Look, I think it's very exciting, and for birders, like that's a cracker lens. You know, to go to, you know, Joe and I were talking about using the 135 1.8 yesterday, and obviously to go out to 200 at f2, that's a lot. That's almost double the reach at not very much of a difference from a light gathering perspective. So very exciting lenses, and I suppose the ultimate question is you know, will Nikon do one? Yeah, I'm confident they will do one, but as to when is always the difficult question. You know, there's a lot going on in the Nikon space, as we can see that they give us so much via firmware, and there's so many lenses that I think, you know, there's I think a very valid desire for wide-angle primes. We do have a lot of great birding lenses already. Not that the 200 is a birding lens, because it's also considered a portrait lens. And of course, I would consider it. I've got a new term here for everybody. You know, I say a streetscape or a cityscape lens. I would consider it a cinematic lens. That's the new. That's my new name for all of these lenses. You know, the 85 1.2, the 50 1.2, the Plano 1.8. They are cinematic lenses. And so Nikon should get it out from that perspective, from a cinematic perspective. So yes, very excited about that. Now let's keep going, because we've only talked about one aspect of this firmware one part, and we're looking forward to all of your questions about it, of course. Although David has asked, no 45 megapixel Z camera has 8 stops of IBIS, right? Is it 7.5? I think it might be 7.5, so it's pretty close. I think it's 7.5. Maybe someone else can let us know in the comments below. Mookie MC, just talking about birding, I think, and the Z6III, he has said, I'll be using the Z6III and the 180 to 600 at a high school football game Friday night, and I'm looking forward to it. The new authentication data will be good for my newspaper work. Yes, very exciting. Yep. Now, I did see a comment, because they're just flying through so fast, that Jay Blue said, where was it? He has said, unfortunately, turning on content credentials, however, shortens the length of bursts unacceptably. So I don't know. That's interesting to hear. I'll do some more testing, and maybe that's just about refinement, and because that would seem to be strange, because you'd want that in sporting and in other scenarios where you want to authenticate, and in wildlife. Can you just before can I just ask Jay? Can you give us a sense of what the frame rate is that it's reduced to, or the burst length is? Sorry, yes, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, just before we move from birding, because I know we're probably going to go into the C2PA content credential stuff. I think another big thing for birders that some of them might be happy with is the auto capture function that's now been integrated into it, as has been integrated into the Z9 and Z8 as well. So that's and that can be for subject detection or distance or motion or whatever it might be. So you can almost set the camera up as a field camera, an extremely expensive field camera. Just tell me where you're setting it up, and I'll come and check it out. But you can set the camera up as a field camera, which is really great. So that's a really good addition for wildlifers.
Well, and it's actually cheaper than a Z8 or a Z9, so it's actually good from that perspective. So we're looking here, Joe, at the Nikon firmware page for 2.0. Like this is such a big deal. Excuse me. And as someone wrote in a comment, this is not the Z6III. This is now the Z6IV. This is such a substantial update. And if we start to scroll through here, obviously we've had this major update to birding. And yes, this video that we see here on their homepage is absolutely indicative of what I've seen. And if you watched the video that I put out a couple of days ago where Joe and I went down to a birding spot here nearby on Port Phillip Bay, and you can see me panning in video with the bird, and it's doing exactly this. Like, it's sticking with it really well. And you know, I tell you, the amazing thing is I was shooting with a 15-year-old F-mount 200 to 400 f4. Now, that's a professional level lens designed way before video was a thing for us to really be trying to do. And if you go and look at that, check out, after the stream, go and check out that video, and you can just see how well it was running. We've now got focus limiter. I think that's pretty self-explanatory unless anybody's got any questions about the focus limiter. But to me, that's a wonderful feature that can be used in all types of photography. We've just got a few comments coming through here. Let's have a look. Firstly, we've got high-res zoom function in Z6III is really good. Digital 2x, still 4x, 4K 30p using my 60pf, very useful for birding. I think for Z6III, the high-res zoom only gives us 1.4, but that is still pushing that 600 out by another 240 mil, so it's getting out near 900 millimeters field of view equivalent. So that's ridiculous and super duper cool. We've got Roger. G'day, Roger. Fantastic to have you here. Hey, gents, late to the party. What did I miss? You missed us, and we missed you. That's really the biggest point here. We missed you. Is Nikon going to work on a new N-Log? I think I've heard rumblings. I can't remember whether it was online or elsewhere, but look, it would make sense that they keep working on all that sort of stuff. Jay has just responded to what we were talking about. For bursts of lossless compressed images on my Z6III, turning on content credentials shortens burst by about 10 shots in a burst before buffering. So sorry, is that 210 shots? Or normally you get 200 and now it's 190, if you could clarify. And what happens when you're in HE Star? Because HE Star is all I use now these days anyway. Would love to know. Guther says, just downloaded it this afternoon, set up cycle AF immediately. Yeah, that's one that I didn't even talk about. And that's the ability to just toggle between your AF modes by pressing on a button. That's a super good one that I think came to Z9 first. Markman says this update is pretty much a Z8 update. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and it's obviously got things which we'll get to, like content authentication, which is nowhere except for this camera. Jay Blue has said, I had electric shutter and continuous high extended 20 frames max release mode enabled. Yeah, let us know what the maximum images are there, but that's all super cool. So yes, we have, and please do put your QQQs in the comments, and don't forget to like. Thank you very much. So focus limiter is awesome. Now, here is another massive topic, which, we'll touch on. Like, I didn't know a great deal about this before I started to research it, but we have authentication. Now, there is a whole website. There we go. And this is, what does C2PA stand for, Joe? Well, it stands for the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. And as we can see, we've got all sorts of heavy hitters: Adobe, Amazon, BBC, Google, Intel, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, Publix Group, I'm not sure who that is, Sony, and TruePic, along with Nikon, Canon, and a whole lot of, camera manufacturers, Leica, and so on. They are all involved in this, and this is all about making basically a trail of provenance, so that we as the end user will be able to click on an image and see what's happened to it, and whether it's been through a process of any editing or not. So, look, this is massive, and the way you get it to work is you have to be a Nikon Cloud member, and then you have to request a certificate, and then the certificate is loaded into your camera. So it sounds pretty straightforward. I haven't had time to do it yet, but for someone who, I've worked in all types of photography, and there would be some types of photography where this would be applicable. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I see it as something, as someone who has sold photographic artwork, and I endeavor to do as little post-production on my artwork as possible. This is actually a selling point for me to say this image is pretty much straight out of camera, because that's what a lot of my images are. They're pretty close to out of camera. So I'm excited for that use case, let alone what it does for scientific, what it does for a documentary, what it does for reportage, and of course anybody who enters a photography competition. There might be a category of, you know, C2PA images. Who knows? Joe, how are you feeling about content?
Yeah, so would you let's say you're selling images down the track with the Z6III as the camera that you've taken the photos with. Would you have a copy of the certificate on the back of the image, or how would you? What would you do to package that provenance with the images that you're selling?
Yeah, well, look, I think as it's expanding, and I have here a list of a list, and it might not be 100% accurate, a list of the cameras that have it. It's not very many. I don't know how many active cameras are still are being released. It's probably something like 50 to 100 across all the manufacturers, and on this list there's only like 12. So as it becomes a thing that's more widely adopted, and because the biggest thing is education and allowing the end user to understand what are they looking at here, because some people will walk into a photography fine art gallery and go, oh, that's an amazing picture, and they won't even know that it's been heavily doctored or, you know, heavily photoshopped or whatever. And we're now living in a world where, you know, I don't even know if, you know, because if you're talking about people like Peter Lick, who I think is known worldwide, he's got galleries in places like Las Vegas and so on. And I think it was him that was caught out for, you know, selling an image that he said was real and it was actually doctored. So I think, and Peter, if it wasn't you, my apologies, I can't quite remember. And I think in that sort of space where you're kind of saying, you know, I did the hard yards, I did the work, and I've put this image together, because a lot of what I do is, you know, is finding and creating the image is more work than just downloading it and going, here it is, and then outputting it as a PSD or whatever, right? Like, computer is like 1% of the equation. Sorry, Joe.
I'd be really interested to know where they draw the line at when something can no longer be authenticated, because of course we're always balancing colors, we're bringing up shadows, we're manipulating the image, the raw image. So when of course if you're changing pixels or subjects, then that's an obvious one, but where is that border? Because you can dramatically change the mood or the look of an image just by pushing up the contrast or by vignetting, and so sometimes, you know, by cropping in a certain way, you know, you're omitting parts of a story in an image that tell the truth of what's actually happening as well. So where's that line that they're saying, no, once it's changed by 3%, 8%, we can no longer give you a certificate?
No, so it doesn't work like that. What the certificate is just a list of everything that's happened, and then you can decide whether you think, you know, that's for you or not. So it's been cropped 3%, the colors have been changed, blah, blah, blah. These pixels over here have had have been removed, and there's something else has been played. Like, there's a whole list, and you know, they said bad actors will be able to delete this information, but then what you will find is a file that's got nothing in it, and by way of it having nothing in it, then that should tell you. So anyway, look, we're heading into a brave new world of how this will work and how it's protected and so on. But we've got to start somewhere. I think we've got to start somewhere as AI just absolutely explodes onto us, and yeah,
it feels like we're playing catch up. It's a shame. I mean, I constantly see in my news feeds advertisements about, send your photo in and we'll animate your photo. So, they've got photos of people send in photos of their parents from the 1930s or 40s or whatever, and they turn those still images into videos. And it's also interesting that they can change the background. Like, people are offering this as a service. So I think we're playing catch up. And I was actually I can remember when Firefly was just started to be developed. I was fortunate enough to be one of the testers of Firefly. I think we spoke about this a while ago, and I was blown away with the technology that there was even just 2 or 3 years ago about what Adobe Firefly can do, and now it's accelerated exponentially. So horizons are I don't think we can see what's even going to come around the corner in another six to 8 months, let alone understand what's truly happening today. So, all right. What other questions do we have, Matt?
I've managed to I've managed to remove the text box from our broadcast, which I'll try and fix while we're going. I'm not sure how I did that. So in the meantime, I'm going to have to read out people. So Paul has asked, so C2PA only compatible with Z6III, Z52, no, it's only right now. It's only compatible with Z6III, and that's it. And I suppose we will see how it gets rolled out over the next. Like, I think it's fair to say all cameras should have it, but definitely professional level cameras. But when it comes to the Nikon range, I don't think any of the Z cameras are not. All of them could be used in a professional setting. All of them. So, ultimately, you'd like to see it across the entire line. But yes, it's just Z6III for now. So we'll jump back to what else came with this firmware. And another big one for me is, as I click on the button, pixel shift, and the fact that we now have focus shift and AE bracketing all built into the pixel shift mechanism. It's a lot more complicated. Not complicated. It's more detailed, the interface. The original interface was pretty much turn it on. You've got 8, 16 or 32 images, and that affects noise, obviously resolution, and color. Now you have the ability to change the focus within the number of shots you take, and you also have the ability to change the exposure, which means that you can have essentially, I suppose, an HDR or very high, well, it is HDR, high dynamic range image. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but it's funny, this was something that Joe and I talked about when Pixel Shift first came out. Wouldn't it be great if we could change the exposure? And they've done it. As Joe said before, we've got auto capture, which is, is a really useful feature for those that are shooting particular use cases. And for example, let's say you are shooting a sporting event and you want to shoot 4 cameras, but there's only one of you. Well, this literally allows you to set up the camera. And here they are here, some of the example states. You can set it up to start shooting when it sees motion, when it sees a certain subject. So it's like, oh, I've seen a cat, but I'm set to plane detect. So I will only start shooting when I see a plane or when something is a certain distance in the camera. This is auto capture, came out with, I think, the Z9 first about 2 years ago. It's really cool. It's really cool for certain use cases. It's not for everybody. And again, if you've got any questions, QQQ below. But yes, there it is. Now, it's also built into this is webcam features to elevate your video calls and live streaming. This allows you to connect with your USB, and I think this is the same as the Z50, where you don't need software anymore to actually get the connect. You don't need Nikon's webcam utility. those protocols are now built into the camera, and I think it increases the quality. Of course, if you want to do what we're doing here, which is streaming and having multiple feeds and all the stuff that we're doing, Paul just said thanks, flying cats now. Then you still need something like Ecamm software or Stream Deck or whatever else. Improvements to Nlog and look, just so much stuff. We've also, now this is a massive one, which is not relevant to people that don't do video, but for people that do video, the fact that the connection to the camera does not essentially go off for a second and a half when you stop recording. The connection stays maintained. Now, for video users, and Joe and I are one of those, and this is something that I was aware of, this is now fixed. So your connection to your external device remains, and it doesn't flicker, which means you can keep recording on that external device. So that is a huge one. And also we have more control of your shooting workflow. So this, and there's so many features. Like when I got the list, which was just a day or two before launch, and I got the full list, and it was like, there is, I don't know, it was like 50 or 60 actual changes or augmentations. Another big one, if you're shooting ProPhoto flashes, is that you can now use the ProPhoto flash to help with focus. We've got the magnify 400% and so on and so forth. So we won't keep going through it all because, as you can see, there's just so much, and that's not all of it. There's more. Joe, what I would like to pivot to now is, this is a huge update. What is this saying for Nikon and their desire to... Like, I bought this camera a year ago. It was pretty cool, but This is a lot of stuff. This is a big update. You're a Z9 owner. You've had 5 major updates. How does it make you feel? And everyone in the chat, how does it make you feel?
Look, it just really speaks a lot to Nikon's firmware philosophy. I think what I like is that they don't seem to be releasing new cameras just to gouge more money out of their consumers. What they're doing is quite obviously sell you a camera, and we're going to give you the most that we can within the hardware parameters of that camera. And I know that some people feel that Nikon may or companies may hold off on potential firmware improvements to the next body of camera just so they can sell more cameras. I think having this type of update, fair that the camera's only a year old, but really speaks to Nikon's ethos and how they're trying to take care of their consumers. So I think it's not just it's not just ethically good, but it feels like it's a good sales strategy as well, because I think it's well known when you watch, well, in the YouTube space anyway, people they do speak about Nikon keep on improving their firmware. So I'm really hoping that the Z9 gets some more firmware updates. Mind you, I was happy with a Z9 firmware 1.0. There was no issue with the camera at all. It was still technologically the greatest piece of photographic equipment I've ever touched. And I still love the Z9. And if it stops at if we don't get any further firmware updates with the Z9, I'm fine with that. But I'm hopeful that there'll be a firmware 6 so we can see some of the things that a lot of people have been asking for, and you've probably had pushback on your videos for many years, Matt. Where's pixel shift? Where are all these headline features for the Z9 that are included in the lower end bodies? So I'm hopeful, but we'll see what happens. I think my screen's just turned off again. 1 second. I'm gonna turn the camera off and on.
No worries. Yeah, well, I mean, that's something else that would be interesting to talk about in the comments is what would people like to see in Z9 firmware 6.00 if it ever happens. Of course, it may not ever happen. We don't know. I said in a recent video that I don't believe a Z9 II is coming out this year, and I could easily see it being. I also said in the video, you know, it still might be something like 16 to 18 months away, which, you know, is not that long from my perspective, because all of these cameras are still working absolutely fantastically, and yeah, like the Z9 is still an extraordinary camera with what it brings to the table. I'll read a couple of comments. Roy Bixby, the Z9 firmware 2 really made the difference. Yeah, well, what 2 brought us was things like the RAW and so on. So that was really great. Joe, is your camera flat? Maybe.
No, it looks good from my end. I don't know what's happening. I could read some of the comments.
Oh, there you go. You're back. Amazing. It's just it was flickering. It was pretty exciting. I felt like I was in a nightclub. Paul says a lot about Nikon's ongoing support for use. Makes me feel comfortable and my wallet stays in my pocket. Mookie says, this is the best way for Nikon to build brand loyalty. Remember the end user and offer them free upgrades to their equipment when possible. The users will reward them by buying Nikon lenses and red. Phil says,
yeah,
why don't you can read some. I'm going to try and work on getting the comments back on the screen. You go, Joe. There's also some up higher as well. I'm going to press a button that might break things. Wish me luck.
Okay.
Oh, what did that do? I don't know.
So Phil says, as a Nikon user, it makes you feel appreciated as a customer and really helps cement brand loyalty. I completely agree with that. Gendo1 says that he tested firmware today for birds and did a magnificent job with the 70-200. As we did, as Matt and I did yesterday, we also tested it with the 70-180 and the 100-400, and it was lightning fast. So J Blue says that firmware 2.0 has made my Z6III a brand new camera, which is pretty amazing, really. And Roy, there was Roy Bixby had said some. Oh well, going back to the pre-capture, what was it? The
auto capture.
Auto capture. Yep. William said, "I need Bigfoot capture, which would be sensational." And Roy Bixby has made a great comment that I need to a de-uglify feature in webcam. Now I'm actually using the de-uglify feature in my webcam, and this is as good as it's ever going to get, Roy. So I'm sorry, but the feature probably needs another few firmware updates. So yeah, and then what else have we got?
I'm gonna give up on trying to fix that, Joe. I can't work out.
Okay.
And I don't want to break things whilst we're live. I'll fix it after this stream. So I'm sorry, everybody. We won't be able to post your comments on the screen anymore, but we will be reading them out.
Anthony has asked if anyone has tested the Z6III firmware using the Sony lenses with the Megadap adapter.
I have
done that, Matt.
Yes, totally fine. Works. It's in that video. There's a couple of images taken with the Sony 135 1.8 somewhere in the middle of that video. So yes. Totally works. I was also shooting on the Z8 at the same time because the Z8 was the camera I used to shoot myself while I was holding the Z6III, and it's the new adapter. I don't have it here in front of me actually, but Megadap just sent me the name is the Megadap E to Z 21 Pro Plus. That's its name, and now it allows you to shoot with A mount, so Sony A mount lenses as well. Also, they've made it stronger and it's weather sealed for the first time. So it's quite an update, and it's fantastic to see Megadap continue to support this. And you know, I've done more testing on the Z8 just because I've had the adapter a bit longer than the Z6III new firmware's been out, and you know, IBIS working fantastically. The AF is what it should be, like the same, because I've got a Sony A7 IV as well, so that drives it, you know, fast as well, because it's all driven by electricity. It's not driven by, you know, a little screw motor in the body. So as long as the electricity gets through, you're doing great. So yeah, look, the E to Z adapter is just getting better and better. And look, I hear a lot of people saying they don't work as well, but then I hear a lot of people saying they work as well. For example, Bobby used was it the Sigma 200 to 600 that came out about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, and he said it's performing, I think, on a Z9 even better than the A1, and this was a Sigma lens. So yeah, look, it does seem to be that mileage does vary a bit, but to have access, and for the majority of use cases, unless you say a birder or a sports journalist, even so, I would say with all of my testing, you're getting full usage out of it. Now, we've got a lot of comments flying in, which is totally awesome.
I'll
do you want to
read some of the comments
Sorry,
for you,
Joe.
Matt?
Yeah, go, Joe,
Yeah.
go.
So Gendo has asked, Matt, did you test the manual focus yet? It's so nice with the Z6III. So have you had a chance to testing those? Maybe they've changed how the fly-by-wire is working with some of the manual focus or some of the lenses when manually focusing.
I haven't, and there's so many specs that they've changed that I'm not even aware of that one. So my apologies that I haven't tested that yet. I'll get to it. Ron is saying, I fully believe we need to... Sorry, Joe.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Where was I? Oh my God. It's scrolled and it's gone, man. It's gone. 2 times brand new camera. This is a massive update, says Gendo. 1, for video to HDMI blackout was unacceptable. Yes, well, it's fixed now. Ron, g'day, Ron. Great to have you here. Fellas, Nikon's class-leading service is undeniable. Amazing firmware updates speak to how much they value their patrons. You go, Joe.
Ron was also saying that he fully believes that we need to be patient as they prepare to give at least one more Z9 firmware update. Do you think there's going to be another Z9 firmware update, Matt?
Well, I have no inside knowledge, but I think the Z9 II is not nearby, so that's one reason. And then, look, I said this about pixel shift, but I think content authentication is a serious topic. I think the Z9 needs to have it. And you could argue that the marketing department says, no, we want people to buy the Z9 too. I personally feel like, in this country we spend $9,000 or $10,000 to get a Z9. I think it would be the right thing to do because those cameras will continue to be used for a decade, in the field, like by professionals, and maybe even longer. So if you think about a Z9 still shooting for a newspaper, it's still, out in the jungle somewhere, it's still, because the damn thing shoots 8K raw, These are amazing bulletproof tools and content authentication. So because of that alone, that would be considered a major firmware update to the Z9. So if I was to bet, and that's all I have for everybody, is my analysis of what I think can happen and betting, I would say yes. But I have no inside information. But that factor alone. And there's like things like the focus limiter. I also think professionals would love that. And like they're two things, but it's like I really think the Z9 should have that. So that's my answer.
Well,
I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen.
Well, can you imagine if newspapers or publishers said that unless you have image authentication, we can't accept your photos anymore? That would put tens of thousands of photographers that are working in these fields, that'd put their noses out of joint in an instant, because that's an expensive thing to put onto Nikon customers, and seeing how they take care of their customers with firmware updates, you would kind of expect they'd understand that, if you've got a couple of professional Z9 bodies and you're out doing photojournalism or Z8s or whatever you might have, and your publisher, that you're working for, is saying, look, I'm sorry, image authenticated images only, it's going to put people out of pocket and out of work very quickly. So, yep.
Yeah, well, Gendo says maybe
what else
authentication was easier on the 24 meg sensor and was a good test bed for them to prep for releasing it for a more pro flagship. Yeah, look, and I think when it comes to firmware, we have to keep in mind that firmware is coupled with what cameras are selling the most. In other words, what I'm saying is the Nikon have to go, well, the Z9's been in the market a long time, and it has. It's coming up on 4 years. It's had 4 major firmware updates, and probably more, to be honest, because there's been lots of kind of medium-sized ones. So that's happened. It's a severely advanced camera from the one that we purchased, so none of us can complain about that. We simply can't. So all those factors are true and fair. And then the Z6III is a new professional level camera, because they consider it a professional level camera. I consider it a professional level camera. And they're wanting to sell more of those today because they're just not... Like, most people who have wanted to buy a Z9 have probably bought it. So you've got to just think about the commercial side of it as well. And so I think that they've been working, very hard to get the Z5 II out, and they did, and it's jam-packed. Before that, it was the Z52, and it's jam-packed. And now they've done the Z6III, and now it's jam-packed. And now it's like, okay, we've got a bit of time to circle back to the Z9. And let's keep in mind that they've basically done annual updates. And so the next annual update, 6, might be on the anniversary of the 4-year anniversary, which is still at the end of this year. So, nothing's out of order at this point in time, and nor were we ever promised anything. So right now it absolutely all makes sense to me, and I don't think they've got endless engineers that they, we can see that it's difficult for them to work on these major updates in parallel. I think these major updates, they do, like, we can see bug fixes come out in parallel, but they're often little. But these major updates, they don't come out at the same time. And I think that's really fair. Mr. Ray, Mr. Raymond Parker is in the house. Good to see you, Ray, before you head off to sleep. Fantastic to have you here. What did you miss? Well, as I said before, no, we missed you. Phil has a question. When do you think Imaging Cloud will be available for Z8, Z9? Do you think the higher MP file sizes are the reason? No, Phil, I don't think it's the reason. I think it's because they're older and it's just code-based. So if you think about code, they would have made the code for the Z8 and Z9, and it's locked down. It's the golden master. And then as Imaging Cloud came along, they write it in at an earlier level with the newer cameras, so it's part of the fiber of the camera. And then to have to circle back to this old golden master of the Z8 and the Z9 and to have to add it in, and it's probably quite complicated because the Imaging Cloud deals with a lot of different parts of the camera. It deals with firmware update. That's huge. It deals with color profiles. Probably not so huge. What's the other thing it does? Oh, it allows you to upload your images. That's probably relatively huge. And so they've got to kind of crack open the vault of the, firmware 5.2 and insert new code into it as opposed to doing it as they built it originally. And I just think it takes time. There's also a question around, is there any hardware in these cameras that's required for Imaging Cloud? I don't know. I would have thought it's a processor and a Wi-Fi connection, and the rest is, software.
There is a workaround if you've got a Z9 or a Z8 or a camera that doesn't work with Imaging Cloud yet. You can also you can use Capture One's mobile app, which has got which you can tether, and it can send images to the cloud as you're tethered, and you can also, and you don't have to be physically tethered. You can wirelessly tether as well. Sure, it's not full resolution, that you get previews of the images, but you can have that as a bit of a workaround if you need your clients to be seeing images before you send them off after having worked them. So, yeah.
Yeah, Edward just said next Z9 update 24th of December as a Christmas present, and that's exactly right. Like that's when the camera was actually
That'd be
shipped.
great.
So, you know, I would put pretty strong money on that being the sort of thing that Nikon would do. It's like, we're going to do it. We're not going to tell anyone.
Yeah.
And then here it is, just before everyone goes on holidays. I mean, that would be sweet. I just have to say thank you to Roy Bixby for his $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Roy. Joe and I will go have a coffee or a hot chocolate. Definitely. We really appreciate it. And I'm so sorry I've somehow deleted the ability to put up comments. Whoops. I'll fix it for next time. Yeah, so look. So you go, Joe. Yep.
Yeah, you just mentioned the 24th of December. Can you remember what we were doing on the night of the 24th of December when that camera was released? I think we went out and did a live stream Christmas Eve.
Nikon managed to ship it to me the day before. So we actually had the camera, I think, on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd. And we did a live stream where I'm pretty sure I was riding my scooter and you were chasing me on your skateboard, and I think you can go and find one of our first crazy attempts at lives, and you did it from your phone on an Osmo, and you were chasing me on your skateboard. Yeah. And we had the wireless Rode mic connected to the lightning port, and look, it all worked. I mean, I love trying that crazy stuff, and I'm still. Don't break the world. I'm gonna get out there, and I'm still gonna connect this, and that means I'm gonna be able to show my EVF. Oh, and now that the Z6III does what it does, that might make it even better. I'll be able to show. I'll be able to live stream what the EVF is doing. So that's the next big step, and it's just a matter of you know. I mean, I'd love everyone to let me know in the comments below, like. Is it of any interest, kind of me walking around shooting the streets and shooting, and you've got the view that I've got, and I kind of narrate what I do, and I do it live? The hardest part about that is, Joe, I'd need you to read me the comments, because otherwise it would just be too hard.
We've done it before.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Yeah, yeah. Edward says he remembers that, so that's awesome. I'm glad, Edward, you've been with us a long time. Thank you, bless you. Now, I just wanted to, because you know how I love stats, Joe. You know how I love numbers and stats. I'm a bit like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to share with everyone, and we need a poll for this week. Actually, that's what we need. So, but I wanted to share the results of last week's poll, because I'm really impressed that we've had just shy of 1,000 votes. That's a lot of votes.
Wow.
That's hard data. So we're going to just jump on over to that poll for a second. Let me press the button. Boom. There it is. Now, what we have here is the question of, and that's as large as that goes. I can't make it any bigger. Oh, no. There we go. The question was, are you going to buy the new 24-70 f2.8 S2? And 11% are a strong yes, 54% are a no, and 23% is a wait for the price to drop in 6 months' time. So, essentially, we have 34% of people interested in buying it. And, you know, I think that's really interesting. Another interesting thing I want to point out about this data is when we had 60 votes, those numbers were the same. And even when you go from 60 to almost 1,000 votes, the numbers are the same. It's quite amazing how this sort of data works. And I've found that with all my polls, the numbers change very little from a small pool to a large pool. So it shows how good this data is and what a broad spectrum of it is, because 1,000 is a lot of people. Anyway, I think Nikon's got a winner on their hands there with that lens, and to have a third of all people who have seen that poll and voted in that poll, you know, going to open their wallet at some point. Pretty cool. Now, Joe, what do you think? What do you think that should this week's poll be? I'm throwing that at you, and I can think about it as well. Or maybe someone could let us know in the chat what they might think the poll should be. Should it be something to do with image authentication?
I think you could almost say, will Nikon release a firmware 6 for the Z9? It's
I like it.
yes or no.
Nice one. All right.
And anyone else got some other suggestions? Because that's just off the top of the head. There might be some good suggestions.
Yes. Any suggestions on this week's poll? Please let us know in the comments below. George is here. Hello from the US. And yes, loves seeing your video reviews. Thank you so much, George. We love seeing you here. Thank you and welcome. Roger, had to wait until Christmas in July before I got my Z9. Yes, I mean, when it was released, it was extraordinarily popular. The one that I got the day before wasn't mine. I had to send that back, by the way. That was just a loaner. And at the time, they said to me, and it makes sense with the first XP7 camera, they basically said there's hardly any exist and they're hard to get our hands on, etc., etc. Which does happen with some of... I'll tell everyone an interesting aside whilst we wait for some poll answers to come through on the chat. Please, if you have any poll IDs... I've almost forgotten what I was going to say, but I didn't. Now, someone wrote in a comment on my 24 to 72.8 S version 2 video that Jared Polin only knows about Jared Polin. What does that mean? And they gave me a link, and I pressed on the link, and I went to his video, and allegedly Jared said nobody got the 24 to 72.8 S to review. Nobody got the new lens to review, is what Jared said. And this person had written in the comments, Matt Irwin got the lens. He reviewed it. So thank you to that person. I'm sorry I don't have their name up here right now to thank them personally, but I appreciate you pointing that out to Jared. But I'm going to be crying in my lunchbox because guess what? Jared doesn't watch my channel. Anyway, I will get over it. It will be fine. Now, we've got some great questions coming through here from Phil. What is your favourite new feature in firmware 2? Yeah, good one. That's a good one. Gunther, do you see any other Z... That's all right. You'll come back. We know you'll come back. Do you see any other Z lenses getting a Mark II release? Which one is next in your opinion? So is that a question for us or a question to put in the thing? I will answer that question from my perspective shortly. Interesting. In Raymond's poll, he got 50% of people saying yes, they want to buy the lens. So that's awesome. Ray, what was your pool size? That would be interesting to know. Roy is, if Nikon released a 10mm full frame non-fisheye, who wants it? Yeah, that's a good one. The Laowa one, Roy, the Laowa one is very, very good. I thoroughly recommend it. I've tested that one. I heard him say that. I was confused. Yes, Craig. Craig said he heard Jared say that, and he was confused by that as well. Well, Jared didn't do his research, so something to think about there. Anyway, Carl says, Paul, do you think it's going to be all right? He likes to slap everyone around. Slapping is fine. Sorry, Carl said, do you think Nikon will release a wide prime? And yes, was for you and Joe. Yeah. Oh, yes. Great, Guther. Roger, Matt, I found out about the Z6III firmware 2.0 update from your video before Nikon USA had posted on. Yes, 49. Awesome. Okay. All right. We've got a few there, Joe. Which question do you want to go with?
Oh, look, I think probably I like what Phil suggested. What's your favourite new feature, firmware 2 feature? So there's the options are going to be bird eye detect.
Just hold a second. I'm just typing here. What is your favourite Z6III 2.0 feature? Yep, bird detect. Go.
Pixel shift plus focus shift plus bracketing.
Pixel shift version 2.
Yep.
Next one.
Image authentication.
Yep.
What else is I'm
auto capture?
trying
Maybe.
to think.
I mean, there's so many, but that's a big one.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
You're wincing.
You did say focus limiter, didn't you?
Oh yeah, well we could make it that one instead. I think that might get used more. All right, we can only do 4. That used to be 5. I don't know why YouTube changed it. It's very annoying. Limiter. All right, that poll is going up right now. What is your favorite Z6III 2.0 feature? Let me just write firmware 2.0 there. Question mark. Please jump in and vote. Be very exciting to see the results next week. I love data. I should get a sticker or a T-shirt, actually. That's what I'm going to do. I love data. You know. Okay, I'm going to post that in the chat, but it's at the post sections. Please open a new tab. Don't leave the stream just yet. There it is there in the chat. Sorry, Joe, you were going to say?
Okay. Yeah, no, I want to click on the poll and put my vote in.
Edward made a great joke. He said Jared was under his own NDA.
I did read that. I didn't want to read it out loud.
Oh, come on. It's all right. It's just good. It's just good, clean fun. Craig C, auto capture and recall shooting. Yeah, look, Craig, I'm sorry I didn't answer your question before about recall shooting functions. I don't know enough about that feature to talk about it much, but we'll circle back to that sometime.
So, Matt, look,
yes,
I'm going to give you an update on the poll. There's been 2 votes so far, and they're both for bird detect. So it is clearly leading by we've got a small sample population.
What did you vote for, Joe?
Bird detect.
I can't vote.
But actually,
that's no good. I can't vote. That's hilarious.
Would you like me to proxy vote for you?
Send
in a mail-in vote.
Yeah, I'll send in a
mail
vote. That's what I'll do. Yeah, I do. Snail mail, email, Gmail,
Telegram.
Right. All those things. Okay. I'd still vote for the custom display light button. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Funny that the update is way too big for a normal poll. Yeah, it's it just in real terms, it's absolutely massive. This update and changes what was already a fantastic camera like so much. It's not funny. 10 votes says J Blue, and we are 60% bird. Well, this is cool. I can't wait to see how it pans out. That'll be really interesting.
I'm going to change my vote because I thought about it. So I'm going to migrate across to image authentication. I think that is in the scheme of things, that's probably the most relevant thing in today's day and age for professional users. Not for the general public, of course, but I've moved across to image authentication. What would your vote have been?
Well, I love the fact that you use that fantastic segue, which within itself is a segue, migrate. I mean, throwing a little bit of bird action into your migration over to authentication. It would absolutely be authentication. Being a professional photographer for 35 years, and to be able to have this as something moving forward, and as we say, it's very, very important, very, very important. As we come into a world where I still want what we all do and what we all love to stay as a thing, and if it means we have to be able to prove that we were actually standing there and did it, so be it. And I love that. This is so the C2P. I was going to talk about the C2P organization started in 2021. So they only kicked the thing off in 2021, and it was only the first standard was only ratified in 2022. So, it's really, as you say, we're moving pretty quick. So they obviously saw the need for this. Before AI was really a major conversation in the zeitgeist. Like, I reckon AI has only been being talked about a lot for the last, I would say, 2-ish, maybe 2.5 years. So, obviously the powers that be, and when we talk about the companies that are part of this organization, Microsoft, Adobe, Google, and so on, they all knew what they were working on, 4 or 5 years ago. So, yeah, here we are.
Ronald asks a question that I think is a great question. Do you find the Z100 to 400 good enough for sport as far as acquisition speed? Now I'm using that lens on the Z9. Acquisition speed is incredibly quick. I've got no issue with it at all. But the main lenses that I use for sport personally, because I'm shooting usually in arenas or small stadiums, are the primes, the 85 1.2, the 135, and even the 50 as well. So for sports, I'm using primes, but for wildlife, the 100 to 400 is absolutely ample. If you're going to be bothered by the 0.02 of a second that it takes for the camera to pick up that, or the camera to pick up that subject, I think you're probably stressing a bit too much. And keep in mind that it's not necessarily the lens that is acquiring the subject. What it actually is that if you've got something that's mostly in focus, it's the sensor itself making a judgment as to where it needs to focus or where it's going to move to next. So it's the focused speed that happens after the acquisition. The acquisition happens on the sensor. The focus speed is maybe more of what you're thinking about. And the focus speed of the 100 to 400 has never been an issue for me. And I'm shooting. Sometimes I'm shooting athletes that are traveling at 60, 70 k's an hour towards me, or across the front of me, only meters away. So, yeah, I think the 100 to 400 is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably in the first 5 to 10 lenses that came out, and we've seen these Silky Swift motors now added to the brand new. Joe's just run away. Added to the brand new 24 to 70 version 2. So there are obviously advancements that can be made, but I've never really found any of the lenses lacking too much. But I don't own that lens, so best to listen to Joe when it comes to that lens.
Well, what you said yesterday when you were shooting with this lens, when we were shooting ducks with cameras,
yes,
was you one of the first comments you made is, oh, this is actually quite a light lens, which makes a difference as well if you're shooting an event.
Yeah, well, I think it might even be lighter than the 70 to 200 2.8, which of course makes sense because it's a 4.5 to 6.3 or something. So there's quite a sizable difference. Jay Blue says Steve Perry did a test on focus speed for various Nikon and Sony telephoto lenses. You can find it on his YouTube channel. So thank you very much for that, Jay.
Great.
Craig says, I'd love to have the 400 4.5. Yeah, Joe and I made an amazing video in Sydney with that lens, and that is a cracker lens that's basically a fully professional level lens, but they've made it, I think, a PF lens. If you want 400, but you want it to be light and fast and basically the size of a 70 to 200, it's just a cracker. Yeah. And if I used 400 a lot, I would not hesitate to get that lens. It's just a beautiful piece of tech and kit. Roy said, sorry, Joe, you go.
I was going to say, keeping in mind that the versatility at 100mm is great with this for sports if you've got a subject that's close to you. And also the close focus distance of this lens is really quite good. So 100's not exactly wide by any stretch, but if you've got athletes approaching you, and you're on a fixed 400mm lens for sport, you're going to be looking into someone's nostrils versus capturing something wider. So I really enjoy using this lens.
Ron also says, I love the 120 to 300 2.8, but we have nothing like that in the Z mount. And I think I just saw on Nikon rumors that that's a lens that's just been discontinued, and I would think that it's that's an obvious Z lens to come with all the Z advances. It'll be lighter. They might put a teleconverter in it. Who knows? It will be amazing, and it will it'll cost the same as a small car, but it'll be joyously good. No question of it. Very good. Well, let's see where our poll is up to. And unless there's any more thoughts, questions, comments on Z6III, the poll is currently 24 votes with Bird Detect sitting at 46%, Pixel Shift 21, Image Authentication 21, and Focus Limiter 13. So there you go.
Ronald has actually just said that he appreciates the insights with 100 to 400. I'm just wondering if I've got some images here that we might have taken. I've got some footage actually.
Okay.
Whether or not we want to try and share the screen or just leave that as another video, because you know what we haven't done.
You can try and share it. Let's be interactive. Come on, let's take risks. Come on, we can do it. It'll be no problem at all.
I've got to find the right files now.
Pressure.
Right,
well, that's okay. I will talk while you're doing that. I'll talk about this lens here, which is the TT Artisan. Beautiful little 40mm full frame lens, autofocus, clickable aperture. Click. And I'm currently reviewing this. And what's cool about TT Artisan is that they sent me both the E and Z mount version of this lens. So I'm going to be testing them side by side. And if you want essentially a nifty 50 that's a 40, that's full frame, and very, very affordable, very light, very small, and quite good for my testing so far. This is a great little lens, and it's also out for L mount, but it hasn't shipped yet. I think they're going to ship me one of those, so I might do all three side by side if it arrives in time, which it might not. And I think it might be RF as well. I can't quite remember. Ron's got a prediction, which is the Z mount 120 to 300 2.8 will move like hotcakes. Yes, will move like hotcakes for pro sports shooters. Totally. I mean, what an amazing lens. And it was one of the last F mount lenses put out, if I recall, and just a divine. That was just a divine lens as well. Had a price tag to go with it, of course. Let's not forget that. But for the use cases that need it, crazy. Joe, did you get there?
Yeah, I do. I've got an image up that's it's one I sent you of the opera singing pelican. When we're out on the rocks
I've lost my vision switching palette. That's where's that gone? Oh, there it is. There, that'd be painful. I wouldn't be able to switch over to it. Okay, share your screen. Right. Let's see how we go, people. Are you ready? Hold on. We're at the top of the roller coaster. We're just about to dive in. Nothing happened.
Here we go.
Do it.
No, I haven't shared it yet.
Oh, come on.
And share screen.
I'm on tenterhooks.
All right. I'm going to share my entire screen. So I'll try and keep it clean.
Oh my God. I don't think I have I don't know if it's. Oh my God. All right. It's I'm going to put it in. Yeah. All right. It's not remembering what we set up earlier. So are you ready? Are you ready for me to share you?
Give me one moment. I'll just go to the capture folder and yeah, I'm ready enough.
Right. This is so. Let's see if this works. That's our poll, by the way. I'm going to be and we are currently 29 votes. Oh, Bird Detect's gone from 42% down to 41%. It's no, don't do that, Joe. Don't do that. I'm just about to flick over to you. Okay, here we go. We are soloing you. Boom. Did that work? Nothing happened. I love that. That worked really well. Why is that not working? I don't know.
So I'll describe
it worked before.
Something's happened.
Yeah. We should have just kept sharing it from before. I don't know why it won't just jump over there onto that. Sorry, folks. Let's. Oh, there you are. I got it working. It's a miracle.
Great. Excellent. Okay. So can I talk to this image now? Because I can't see whether it's on screen. I'll talk to it.
It's going to be on screen in 14 seconds.
Great. Okay. So what we've got here is where Matt and I were shooting the other day down at Ricketts Point on in Black Rock, which is in Melbourne. We're taking photos, and these birds were at, they would have been 50 meters away or so. And
150 feet.
See, thereabouts. So this is shooting at ISO 640 with 1/1000th of a shutter speed. And I'll let that render out, but you can see the detail is quite good for the distance away that I was. Let me see if there's any other images of anything closer that might be suitable.
Sorry, Joe, is this the Z8 or the Z6III?
This is the Z9 with the 100 to 400 we were talking about.
Yeah, cool.
So some of these images, because I was shooting at high ISO, they appear a little bit soft, and none of them have been touched. What I might do as well is I might have a look at some of the video footage in that we can see in DaVinci Resolve, which I've moved to recently. So I don't know how this is going to play through, but this is using the 2.3 crop with that 100 to 400, with the 100 to 400, and all right, I'll mute the sound. But it's a nicely stabilized lens on the camera, and it's really quite sharp. This is again using the 2.3 crop. Ignore the titles that I've put on there. I was just mucking around with my son. We started to piece something together last night. But you can see that there's plenty of separation with this lens. So as far as a wildlife lens, I think that even subjects that are at quite a distance, it's quite a good lens. So I think what we should do, Matt, is probably prepare a video of the 100 to 400, because we spoke about it a while ago, and do an actual an image comparison between the 100 to 400 and the 180 to 600 and the 200 to 500, and actually show images, because they're the three lenses that people, if someone's got the 200 to 500, which can still take great photos with, this is with the 200 to 500 many years ago on a Z6.
I've stopped sharing your screen just so you know. Do you want me to go back?
You find no. Oh, well, look, if you like, I'm quite happy for you to go back so I can show this this image as well.
And we're back.
Okay, so this was with the 200 to 500 many years ago on the front of a Z6, and you can see that I was shooting through bushes and thistle, and it was still you can still get great images with that 200 to 500 on a Z body. So I think it's probably not a bad idea for us, Matt, to at some stage go out and do an updated test of the 180 to 600. Even the 70 to 180 with a teleconverter, or the 70 to 200 with a teleconverter. I know those tests have been done, but it'd be nice for you to have a look at those images with your flavour and your take on image fidelity and quality and all that. So, yeah,
very good. And I thought, because we were talking,
if you like.
I have, and because we were talking about the birds, I just thought I would quickly show the footage that I captured with the Z6III and the old 200. So I'm just showing a little clip from my Z6III firmware 2.0 video. So if we just go over to that, and you can see here, the box in the top right is the detection of the bird. Obviously, the box on the left is me with the camera, and this is just a bit of footage, and you can just see. So this is shot at 120 frames per second with the crop that comes with that. Obviously, just being able to pan with a bird with such a large lens has its own difficulties, but you can just see how well, and let me just go back to that, because I think what's really impressive about that, oh God, where's the pause? I'm getting lost where I am. Here we go. What's amazing about this, from my perspective, is we're using this very old lens, which can now be bought quite affordably, and it's giving you these amazing results. If the bird was flying directly at me, maybe not, but, you know, I mean, how many people end up doing that sort of thing? And I just wanted to, there's a few more shots here at the end, which just shows you how well this flicks around. Why won't that play?
But even those environmental shots that I shot of you taking this video, that was all shot with the 100 to 400 as well. So, so if you want to have a look at the video that Matt's talking about, and you see the B-roll of Matt out on the rocks getting rained on, that's also taken with a 100 to 400.
Yep. So we're just seeing how it sees all the different birds, and you've actually got the grey box to jump between the birds. So just like face detect in humans, it gives you options. So it's look very, very powerful and very useful. And as we could just see there in that clip, so this is stills. Obviously, some birders use a smaller box, and then obviously it has absolutely no problems detecting the bird within that box. But just how, here we'll see how quickly, well, there you go. No, it's gone. Anyway, this is me talking about the Z9 firmware. All right, Joe. Well, I think we have had a great time talking about Hasselblad, talking about firmware 2.0 in great detail. And just to come back to us. And I would like to thank you, Joe, for joining us. I'd like to thank everybody in the comments. You've all been absolutely, it's been amazing to have you all here. We have so much fun doing these live streams. It's really great to get together with people from all over the world and share our experiences and our knowledge and our joy for photography at the end of the day. Please don't forget to vote in the poll if you haven't. Please don't forget to like this video if you haven't. Leave a comment, of course. And Joe, thank you.
My pleasure, Matt.
Alrighty. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week, and I hope you have an absolutely spectacular week. Ray has just said that he is going to be getting out and doing some bird... he got out and did some bird testing yesterday. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we will see you all very, very soon. Take care.